Hello again. Welcome back to Vickie's Country Home. Today I'm going to do a few things, but first of all, I wanted to say a big thank you. A beautiful lady who has become a dear friend, even though we've never met, sent me this beautiful Mother's Day card. This came all the way from Australia, so Adele, I thank you. You're pretty special to me. She sent me a patch. Her husband and her sons work with the fire department there, and so she sent me one of their patches, and that's pretty special because we live with fire danger all the time. So thank you for that. And something that she sent, it's the thought behind it that's so important and so sweet to me. This is a reusable bag that zips up into a little case. But what it says is, someone special. She believed she could, so she did. Dell said this is what I did with my YouTube channel, so thank you, Dell. This just means so much, and I love you dearly. And you're always in my thoughts and prayers. So thank you. And I also wanted to show you this giant bowl. One of my subscribers, Rose, gave me a gift card at Christmas, and I had not used it yet. So I finally used it, and I put it toward this giant pottery bowl from Layman's. So Rose, thank you. I can't wait to see what I want to put in it this summer from my garden. So thank you. Now I'm all teared up, sorry. So anyway, getting on to what today's video is about. I've been asked how I come up with my formulas, whether it's for my soaps or lotions or whatever. And I kind of wanted to show you the process that I go through and what I'm going to make today. And I've never made it before. I'm coming up with this new formula today. But I thought it might be helpful for those of you that also want to make things. I just ask that you don't use my formulas for commercial gain. You can change them up, but these are things that I have produced myself, so I hope you get some enjoyment out of this. But how I start is a lot of research, and you think, well, just do some of this and some of that. Well, sometimes you do that and sometimes you don't. Today I'm going to make a facial moisturizer because it is so dry here and my skin's terrible. I used to use commercial moisturizer and I can't anymore. Everything I used I've had sensitivities to. And so that's why I make my own products. When I start to formulate these things, I ask myself, what do I want this to do? First of all, I want it to be natural. I have found that I have a lot of sensitivities to preservatives and emulsifiers, the artificial ones. There's always some natural options, but the ones in the commercial formulations cause me problems. And I have really had issues over the years, which is why I don't keep up with using them all the time because they cause me skin irritations, sometimes allergies. So what I want it to be is natural. I don't want it to cause any other issues, and with a facial moisturizer you don't want anything that could be comedogenic, which would be cause your pores to clog. You don't want it to be too heavy, but you definitely want it to moisturize. You want it to absorb into your skin for at some point, but you also want it to create a barrier so you don't lose more moisture. So that's what I'm looking for in my facial moisturizer formula. Okay, so what I have done is I go to the internet and I start searching for oils that are skin friendly, that are beneficial, and there's a ton of them out there. And then I start asking what are the uses of those oils. So I have a number of those here that I know are beneficial for the face, for the skin. But and some are very similar, but they're all different also. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the different ones that I have. Again, it's by no means all of them, but I'm going to walk you through the oils that I have and some of their benefits and some of the risks on some of them so that you can make more educated guesses. Because that's what I'm doing, is I'm making an educated guess on this formula, and then I'm going to make two, and I'm going to see which one I like the best. So let's get started talking about the oils. The first one I want to talk about is rosehip oil. And that's exactly what it sounds like. This has been pressed from rose hips, which are the seed pod that roses produce from the flowers if you leave them alone. And this is from wild roses. It's light and it's not really greasy feeling. And it doesn't have a strong fragrance either. It's very faint, and it's not a heavy rose fragrance either. But again, I go to my friend the internet and start searching for what it does. And it's got a lot of vitamin A, a lot of vitamin C, retinol, encourages skin cell turnover. It helps boost collagen production. It moisturizes. It reduces inflammation because it's rich in polyphenols and anthocyanin. Those both help reduce inflammation. It also contains vitamin E, which is also good for your skin, and it's an antioxidant, and it's known for its anti-inflammatory properties. The next one that I have is pomegranate seed oil. Now this one, and you can look in the top of that, you can see, it's a much heavier oil. And it has more of an odor, but not bad. But it's not as light feeling. But pomegranate, it's just like eating the fruit. There are so many valuable properties to pomegranate seed oil. But it reverses skin damage. It's got keratinocytes, and those are cells found on the outer layer of your skin. It stimulates them. It's non-greasy, anti-inflammatory, anti-aging. It helps with collagen. For your hair, it helps clear away buildup and flushes out dirt and bacteria on your scalp and creates a balanced pH on your scalp. There's just a lot of good things, and again, a number of sources that I went to. Pomegranate seed oil is just wonderful. This one you may not have ever heard of, and it's Abyssinian seed oil. And this is interesting because this comes from a brassica plant, and in this case it's a part of the mustard family. Almost no scent to it. Very light, I don't know if you can tell how easily it moves. It's not a heavy oil, but it's very good for hydration. It absorbs quickly into the hair and the skin. You can use it on either one. Has a lot of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, vitamins A, B1, B2, B6, C, and E. So this one's just full of things also. Now, this next oil is a little different. Let me pull this tape off of here. This is tamanu oil. Now, tamanu is pressed from the nut of a tree. So if you're allergic to tree nuts, do not use this. It's pressed from the nut of the Calophyllum inophyllum tree. So again, nut allergies, avoid tamanu. Now this one is much thicker. It has this darker color, and it definitely has a fragrance, and it's not unpleasant, but it's not a pleasant fragrance either. But it has so many benefits that I'm going to have to try some of this. Just some of the things that are credited to tamanu oil are reducing inflammation, destroying bacteria, acne, athlete's foot, dark spots, dry skin, eczema, hair loss, psoriasis, rosacea, sunburn. It's said to alleviate pain. Just so many things. But some of the properties that this has is it contains calophyllolide, that one's a mouthful, which is known to possess anti-inflammatory properties, and delta-tocotrienol, which is a form of vitamin E, and a lot of antioxidants. And it moisturizes your skin. And this one, there were so many articles, and some things have been researched and some haven't, so you kind of have to use your judgment. But a number of sources, including health sites that I've found, all talk about tamanu oil. The last one that I have here, and I have other oils. These are the ones I chose for facial. This one is Vickie oil, and I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. This one also has some really good properties, and health benefits show that it soothes cracked skin, maintains skin elasticity, eliminates free radical damage, treats rashes, lowers the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. And there's a lot of good properties in this one. But one of the things, it contains a lot of beta carotene. And if you're light-skinned, this could leave your skin a little orange. So I decided for my purposes that I probably am not going to use this one today. I may try something else with it later, but not for this. So that's what I do first, is I go through and research. I look to see what properties it has, if there's any risks or counterindications, anything like that that tells me that I should not use it. The next thing you need to do, this is important, you need to take a small amount of this. Any of these oils that you're going to use or proposing to use. And you need to take 1 or 2 drops and put it on your forearm or your wrist. You want to rub it in well, and then you want to cover this with gauze or with a Band-Aid. And then you're going to wait 24 hours, because if you have any skin sensitivities to it, you'll be able to know. Now, if you want to try several at a time, you can do that, but I would use, I would mark your Band-Aids and say this is this, and make sure you know which one's which. And hopefully, none of these will cause any issues except, again, possibly the tamanu nut oil. If you have the nut allergy, don't even try that one. So once you determine if you are okay with using them, then it's time to start making some educated guesses how much and which ones to combine. So I've already decided on the oils I'm going to use for 2. And we're going to just sit and do this together and see how they come out, and then I will be trying them over the next few weeks. So let's get started making our facial moisturizer. Okay, I'm making this for myself, so I don't always use gloves if I'm making it for myself. But this is part of the process if you're making it for anyone other than yourself or even yourself. You want to keep things very clean. So I'm using pipettes to draw out the oils. So I decided the first one, I'm going to start with the Abyssinian oil. And let's see, I want to put this on grams because we're working with small amounts, and I don't want to make a large amount till I know how it's going to work. And on this particular one, I'm going to use a larger amount of the Abyssinian because it's very light. So let me see. And I have 5 grams of the Abyssinian oil. So that's the first one. And again, I'm making a very small amount because it doesn't make sense to waste the oils until you know how you're going to like it. Next, I'm going to add rosehip oil. And again, it's very light. So now I'm adding the rosehip. Okay, I had to change out the batteries in my scale. Just a word of caution, any of you that buy batteries from Costco, I just had 6 packages of batteries that were completely corroded, and they were within the expiration dates. So if you store batteries from Costco, you might want to check on them and return them. And I found out this is a known problem, so I had to switch out the batteries on this they just gave out on me. So I'm going to have to estimate a little bit on the rosehip just because it died in the middle of that. But I'm going to put about an equal amount. So I'm going to say it's right around 5 grams. Again, not the best way, but I'm not starting over for this. So we'll just have to see how it works, and then we can always change it up from there. Okay, so I've got my Abyssinian seed oil and my rosehip seed oil. Now I'm going to add some of the pomegranate seed oil. And I hope that I can use a pipette with this. We'll have to see. Now, the Abyssinian and the rosehip are both very light oils, so I needed those to be light to offset this because it's much heavier. And as you can see, it's more viscous. But I definitely think it has some advantages, which is why I am using it. And I think that's all I'm going to put in there for now. Now, there's not a heavy fragrance. It's very neutral, I would say. So what I want to do is mix these together. And you can tell it definitely is thicker than the Abyssinian or the rosehip by themselves. But we knew that was going to happen. So it's probably fine by itself, but I'm going to put just a few drops. This is a real rose essential oil blend. It is not pure rose essential oil. I do have some of that very expensive stuff. But I'm just going to put a few drops. And rose is one of the essential oils that's good for your skin. Lavender is a good one. Rose geranium is another good one. And that's fine. It's just a slight fragrance, very light, which is what I want. So this is going to be my test number, I started backward, and this is number 2. And it's very important that you keep notes and write down what you've done and the amounts and the date. So this will go into 1 jar. And it's best to use dark glass because all of these oils tend to be light sensitive, and the dark glass helps protect them. Okay. So this is my blend number 2. And I'm just going to set it on top of that card so I can keep track, and then I will label it later. Okay, for my next blend, I'm going to start with an oil that I've used and shown you before, but I'll explain it a little bit. And that is argan oil. And I buy it in quantity, and I also buy it in aluminum flask because it protects it and it lasts longer. And argan oil is well known for its skin-loving properties. I have been using this by itself a lot of times, especially under makeup. And it's pretty light. I think it's a little bit heavier, just a little bit heavier than the Abyssinian oil. Now, I used 5 grams of that, That's what we're starting out with. And then I'm going to go back to my rosehip seed oil. And 5 grams of that. So I've used 5 grams of each of those. Now we're going to try this tamanu oil. And again, it's very thick, very viscous, and it has a stronger odor to it. So, and again, not overly, but it is noticeable. And you can see how thick that is. In fact, this pipette may not work. In fact, I'm going to say it doesn't. So what we're going to do is just have to very carefully pour. Okay, so 2 grams of that. And I think you can see it's just kind of sitting in there. So we're going to mix this up well. Hope you can see that. I think you can. And then again, I'm going to use my Rose Blend essential oil. I'm going to start with 5 and see, because again, it's not a strong fragrance at all. But I think that's enough. I don't want a heavy rose fragrance, I just want a little bit. And now we're going to get a second bottle, and this is my #1 blend. And we're just going to pour that in there. Very different. So I'm going to set that aside. Now, since I still have some on my funnels and my little spatulas and bowls, I'm going to see kind of what I think of them right now. This is my #1 blend that has the argan, the rosehip, and the tamanu. Very light, and my skin is extremely dry, so you can see. It's very light. It has slight oily feel, not heavy. And mostly has soaked into my skin, not 100%. So that's the #1 blend. And then the #2 blend, which had the Abyssian, the rosehip, and the pomegranate seed oil. I think I like this one better so far, and again, this is not on my face. you can barely feel an oily feel, but very, very light. It's soaking into my skin really well. I think just my immediate reaction is that I'm going to like this one, the number 2, better, but we'll have to see. So that's how I go about coming up with my formulas. It's guesswork. You do your research, you do guesswork, and you try and choose the ingredients that make the most sense, that will work well together, and have the properties that you want the most. So, hope you found this interesting. Hope it helps some of you that maybe want to make some of your own products. It's not rocket science. It's just trial and error. And I made these. I'll have to test them for a while before I decide what I like, what I don't like, and if I want to change them up. So, thanks for watching. God bless, and we'll talk again soon.